Hey guys, I kind of wanted to dress the part a little bit, well, very loosely dress the part for the video I'm making today. My hats are kind of hurting because I haven't put them on properly, but yeah. So this is going to be a review. I'm going to have some spoilers in it, so don't watch it if you haven't watched the show, but yeah, it's going to be a review on Dickensian. Sorry if you hear like beeping in the background, my fire alarm needs the batteries changing. It's going to be a bit of a scattered video because I didn't properly write up my little notes that I want to mention. They're all on my phone and they're kind of mix and match, so sorry if it feels like I'm jumping around a lot, but hopefully you get the gist of what I'm trying to say anyway. So Dickensian was a 20-part serialisation of Charles Dickens's kind of books. I think it's from most of his famous novels. The episodes usually last about half an hour, but the last episode, the 20th episode, was around 50 minutes. It was a great insider for me, as someone who hasn't read much Dickens, or any I don't think, to see kind of the lives that Dickens created intertwine but not necessarily interfere with each other. So it was a nice selection, introducing to you some of his great works, I suppose. The way that the characters' lives intermingled, again, but not necessarily interfering, was done in such a very skilled way. Just the whole way it was portrayed makes me want to pick up some of Dickens' works, particularly the ones that were featured in Dickensian. But I do think that with some of them, I'd much prefer just the visual imagery of the TV show rather than actually reading them, because I know Dickens can be quite a classic to get through, and I'm not that great with heavy, dense books when it comes to classics. So I won't talk too much about plot because it's kind of a lot of little plots mixed together. Obviously it's taken some aspects from certain characters' lives in their own story that Dickens wrote like years and years ago. So it's difficult to kind of navigate all the plots because there was just so many in there, but it never felt confusing. I think the way that they were all kind of moulded together really worked. Nothing overlapped badly, I didn't find any like plot holes or anything like that, so that was great. So I just want to talk a little bit about some of the characters. First off, Merryweather Compeyson. Oh my god, he was such a butt. I hated how malicious he was, and I was just rooting for him to get taken down by someone, anyone, I didn't care who. I wanted to get rid of him. I hated his character. He was such a weasel when he angered me so much. Mrs. Bumble I really thought was quite gross. The way that she kind of subtly says to Mr. Bumble how she'll reward him, you know, basically if he does what she says, and she constantly wants him to increase their social standing, put them higher up in the hierarchy of society, and she's just not a nice person, despite the fact that she's supposed to be like a good, I think, Christian woman who has a children's home and everything like that. I just didn't like her. She was so gross. Oh, her scenes made me feel uncomfortable. It was all horrible. But I definitely think the actress who played her, whose name I don't know, but I've seen her in other things, did a really, really good job. Oh, the little boy who ended up being Oliver was so adorable. He had the cutest little face ever. And as he was kind of introduced, nobody said his name, did they? Nobody said anything about his name. But I kind of knew, and I think a lot of people did, that he was bound to be Oliver. And that final feeling with him in the scene where he was like, where Dodger was like finding him on the streets and saying, "Oh, what's your name?" And he's like, "I'm Oliver." And I was like, oh, it was nice to have that bit of closure, to know that definitely was Oliver. So cute. Every time he was on the scene, my heart just melted, especially when he said, "Please sir, can I have some more?" And they literally ran him out of the house. That really depressed me. But yeah, I liked how he was linked with Inspector Bucket, and how Inspector Bucket pretty much saved him from the workhouse, but then he got put into possibly an even worse place where he was mistreated by, you know, somebody who he was supposed to trust. So yeah, that was a really sad storyline, but there wasn't a lot of him. He wasn't like the focus. He was only in the last couple of episodes. So the Inspector Bucket, I didn't really like him that much at first. I thought quite a few of his scenes were very awkward because there was a lot of scenes where he was just kind of zoomed in talking to what's his name? It was just a bit uncomfortable sometimes. It was just in deep thought. You could tell that he was in deep thought as a character, but it was a little bit weird when it was just silence all of a sudden, you know, and it was zooms in and stuff like that. And I did find his initial approach, like his initial input in the show, irritating, because he talked way too much and I just found him quite boring. But after a while I really did like him, and I liked his kind of personality and how he decided to his own justice in the end with the family. Oh, was it the family of all the kids? I can't remember their names. But yeah, talking about them, if you know what I'm talking about, I'll try and find it and put their names. I liked their storyline. They were definitely a big part in it. Obviously intertwining with Scrooge and all them. But I thought their lives were more dotted about the place. There was a lot of scenes with them, but not necessarily focused on them, if that makes sense. But I really do like the mum and dad figure. I was really shocked to see that the mum had killed Scrooge, was it? I think, yeah. But yeah, that they were good characters. I really liked them, and all the children were adorable. So Amelia Havisham, I think I kind of liked her all the way through the series, except for when she started to fall for Merryweather. I knew she was making a bad mistake, and she wasn't listening to anybody that was trying to help her, so that irritated me. And then her friendship with Honoria, I'm going to talk about, I think, these characters a little later on as well, but I really liked that, and I was really sad when obviously Honoria got pregnant and had to say she was away, and then their friendship, you could just see that it was getting weaker and weaker, so that really upset me. But you could see how much they loved each other, you know, I think, regardless. So I think that's all for characters. And I want to talk a little bit about my favourite episode. I have to say it was episode 15. I think it's because sneaky people were starting to unravel. For example, Francis's plans for setting up Honoria and destroying James's promotion. And of course, Merryweather caught kissing his actual wife when Amelia saw them. I just think a lot of drama was like starting to like bubble under the surface then, and I was really anticipated for the next couple of episodes that were coming out after that, so that was definitely an intense episode for me. So I do have a favourite storyline and favourite like family, I guess I'll call them. It was a tough decision. Obviously, I really liked the Burberry family storyline. So that was Honoria and Francis and their dad, I can't remember who. That was so powerful, and when Honoria got pregnant and everything, that took such a dark turn, like with Francis getting rid of the baby and everything and pretending that she died still. That was so emotional, and I was crying throughout those episodes, those scenes. And the other most powerful storyline for me was the Havisham line, and I think that's because it was such a prominent role. I would say that was one of the main storylines for this series, and because we kind of ended on them, that's what stuck in my mind the most, and that's why I'm going to say the Havisham family was my favourite family and had the best storyline. We were introduced to them pretty much early on in the very first episode as Amelia and the brother, I can't remember his name, as their dad died, and they were kind of sorting out who's going to get the brewery and all that stuff. So I think we got to see the most development in their characters and their plot. By the end, I was so depressed. Like, it was such a depressing ending. My heart literally broke for Amelia when everything came out about Merryweather and the brother's deal and all that, and obviously the brother thought he was in his sister's good books, but he wasn't. Definitely knew they were going to face some destruction, and I could feel the hint that one of the siblings were going to commit suicide. I think it turned out to be Arthur, that's the brother's name, isn't it? I think it turned out to be him. I was happy to have some slight supernatural aspect to it, so I thought it was a ghost at first, but I guess Arthur was just hallucinating from too much alcohol or something, of his sister screaming. So when I saw that, I thought, oh my god, she's killed herself. But I thought, no, it must be a hallucination, when it then showed Amelia again. I knew they were going to end badly. I also liked that we got to hear a bit of Jacob Marley. I might have been calling him Scrooge if I mentioned it before. Jacob Marley's the one that died, wasn't it? And we heard him calling Scrooge. So I would have liked a bit more of that, but it kind of left us with a nice cliffhanger. It definitely feels like there's going to be a second series, and if there is, I am bloody happy. I think they can do so much with this because, you know, there's so much more you can add to Dickens's work, but you don't really need to, because he goes in, well, so I've heard, he goes into so much depth in his stories, and there's so many storylines and so many plots and stuff, so I'll be looking forward to hopefully hearing more about some future seasons. But this is where I'm going to leave it. Definitely loved that series. I would give it a 5 out of 5 stars. It was amazing. I'm not sure if I've got any more notes written down somewhere on my phone, but if I find any important ones, I'll just put them in the description. So let me know what you thought of Dickensian, and if you're hoping that there's going to be a second season like I am. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll speak to you next time. Bye!